May 2017, starting to plan the summer logging activities. I'm at Freestone, north of Grand Rapids, looking again at the wind damage from last, I guess it was July of 2016. These straight line winds are just amazing. You know, just in a straight line right through here, 30 trees or so, and then just to the side of it, basically untouched. This is one fabulous stand of red pine with a fair amount of white pine mixed in with it. It's time to take a bunch more of this red pine out for the fourth time, I think, and we've got to get white pine going on the ground here. We just, in many of the parts of this property, we have not been successful at getting enough sunlight in here. So there's a lot of white pine to leave, and it's in good shape, like that one right there. A couple of them, the tops have snapped off back over there. Those will have to come out. But I think we will be successful at scarifying this and getting a lot of this brush chewed up in the logging process. So we're going to cut it hard enough to make sure that we get some really good scarification. We're going to be really intentional about doing that, and then we're going to let the natural regeneration that other parts of this 40-acre piece have done successfully, and let that work. And we'll be certainly picking up this mess. Right, Ivor the timber dog, buddy. Hi. Here's an area that we thinned hard enough to be able to get white pine to seed in, and not only seed in, but we continued to harvest enough once it got somewhat established that we've actually gotten some pretty good growth on it. The height growth is decent. The diameter growth isn't awesome, so we definitely need to improve it. We've been through this area thinning this mature red pine at least 3 times. I think it is 3 times, and 2 of those times was my brother Nick. And we definitely accomplished opening up the canopy. Now this tree snapped off, but most of these did okay in the wind. But we opened up the canopy, and we got sunlight in here. We wanted to also put accelerated growth on some of these big Norway pine trees, also known as red pine trees. But what I'm finding is that once the growth on the red pine has slowed down, it just doesn't seem to want to pick up again. Or maybe it just never grows fast to old age. I haven't seen very much of it that grows like white pine does. Well, anyway, here's a perfect example of it. I've taken a core sample out of this particular tree, and it shows really well. There's the recent growth, and there's at an earlier age when it was growing pretty well. But look at how those growth rings have slowed down. And we've thinned this 3 times in that time frame, and it never did speed up growth. It just kept growing slowly the whole time. You know, and that's okay. We're still getting some growth, and it's a healthy stand, and it's a beautiful stand. But if it's just not going to grow very fast, then at some point we have to say that we're better off to get something going on the ground that has a potential to grow fast, and it certainly will. And that something is white pine with a little bit of birch mixed in, and hopefully a little oak here and there. You can't see the birch and the oak here, but well, there's a birch right there. But it is in here in other parts of this area, and I've seen it do well. So if we start to liquidate, I guess, or harvest a fair amount of this red pine, it isn't so much that we want this red pine now, or that we're going to try to put growth on the remaining red pine trees, because it just doesn't seem to happen. But it's because we want to get something growing on the ground where we can get some accelerated growth and get some future revenue generated here. Friday, May 26th, 2017. I've done the first section of the pine stand at Freestone. I talked about it in an earlier video. And the part that I've completed is the area that had the best white pine regeneration success. We had underplanted this entire 40 acres, and this is the only area that really did very well. And so we're going to take out an awful lot here. As you can see, everything with blue paint is going to come down. And I've marked the trees that are growing slowly, in my opinion, mainly because looking at the tops, they don't have a complete top. This one is being saved, partly because of spacing, and mainly because it has its own space to grow already, and it's got a complete top, and so it has the best opportunity to take advantage of more resources, sunlight, nutrients, etc. So I've left that. When these trees come down, which I'll certainly document, they're going to do some damage, but we've got such an abundance of white pine in most of these areas that we can stand to lose half of it. Another interesting, at least to me, interesting thought that I've had is that even though I was heartbroken about the white pine, young white pine that was pushed over by the snow, what it is it's an indicator of weakness, and the trees that have not been pushed over by the snow must have been stronger. Well, it's real helpful to know which of the overabundance of white pine regeneration are the strongest, as a visual for the operator who's going to be in that machine right there. So we had more trees than we needed, and now he's got a better idea of which ones to make his best efforts to save. And that is not easy, but he's better at it than anybody I've ever seen. So this is going to be really fun. It's going to be challenging. It's especially fun for me because I worked on this with my dad. I worked on it with both of my brothers. Nick harvested this at least once. And Nate was out here with Jack and me, my dad. I think the last time that we went through this process of thinning it. And so it's fun to have a long history of thought that's been put into this stand, and this really is a gem. So more to come. Well, here we go with the harvest part. There's Ross right there, and this is where he started. You got some of the big pine down, and he is doing a great job already. Look at that white pine that he protected. Birch, another birch, a red oak, more white pine. Whole bunch of white pine here that he's protected. That nice basswood over there. Doing a nice job, isn't he, Ivor? You're thirsty. Yep, we're getting some holes in the sky here now. That's great. It's pretty tight in there for him. I know that he's trying to save more white pine than I even expect him to. I sure appreciate the effort. It makes a big difference. He's doing a nice job of clearing out a bunch of the brush too. As putsy as it is, that's the right head to do it. Well, come on. Come on. Come on up here. Come on. That is tall, tall timber. Look at how that machine will hold that tree. At least I think it will. So he's getting it in position to fell it. He's got to sneak it through that same hole that he just had. Look at the light on the forest floor now. That was not here this morning. There's a beautiful tree. Slow growth though. 107 years is what I've got this figured out to be. This is an area that I marked real heavily to get it wide open. It's not a big area, but it's big enough to grow some oak in, which requires full sunlight And that is a red oak tree right there. It's a real nice one, even though it's got quite a few limbs, but it's got good form. So I wanted to use that as a seed tree, and that's what that means. OS is oak seed or oak save. And this is called a group selection and a bit of a shelter wood. So he started cutting this, but he's got quite a few more to put down. He's probably shocked at how many trees that I've got marked. This doesn't happen very often. We're usually thinning lightly, but you finally get to the point where it's time. The trees are mature, the growth is slowed down, we need things happening down on the ground, and we need sunlight and some disturbance to do it. And now we're getting both. Got some beautiful birch in here, so we're saving some of those. I've pruned a bunch of these, but now they'll really respond. Yeah, this is going to be shocking to some people, but after a year, when they see what we've got left in here and the way things are growing and how beautiful it'll still be, they'll understand. It's probably going after that white pine right there. We're not cutting very many white pine, but we're cutting some. That one's got a dead top. And now's the time to take it. He's weaving his way in between the young white pine, and he's mowing down as much of the hazel brush as he can, because the more that he gets down, much better the chance that we'll be able to get the regeneration that we want. The before. That's a look at what the after is going to look like. And that. Over and out for now. There's the before. And here's the after. Look at all that sunlight. Look at the sunlight on those young white pine trees. Look at the lack of sunlight on these white pine trees. These are bathed in light they've never had in their entire lives. They've been thirsting for it, and now they've got it. They're going to take off. They're going to do great. Still got some nice red pine left. As I said earlier, I chose the ones based on spacing and the ones that have decent tops, because they're the ones that have the best chance of responding with growth, renewed growth, to the release or the increased sunlight that they're going to get, and increased nutrients and moisture. Oh! Oh, very nice. The trees that I left, the mature red pine trees, I chose for spacing because we want a slight canopy over the top of this white pine. It's not ready to be fully released yet. So some canopy, and I still want these trees to grow, and we chose the ones that had the best chance to respond to this thinning. And those are the ones that have healthy and big tops. Many of them only have half a top because they grew so closely to each other. But like that one has a pretty good top. And those have good tops. So even though they won't, you know, go crazy, they are going to respond some. That's a nice white pine off in the distance. Broke a few limbs off when we dropped the trees around it, but very few, and it looks great. That's going to throw a lot of seed. So even though we don't need a lot more white pine going in here, we'll take more. And that one will give it to us for sure.